The bracelet that started everything. What if I told you one of the most expensive celebrity gift stories connected to the NFL didn't begin with a Rolex, a Ferrari, or $1 million diamond? It began with a homemade friendship bracelet Travis Kelce couldn't even get into Taylor Swift's hands. Back in the summer of 2023, the Kansas City Chiefs superstar walked into Taylor's Eras Tour stop at Arrowhead Stadium with what sounded like a simple plan. Friendship bracelets had become part of Swiftie culture. So Travis made one of his own, but his had something different hidden inside. His phone number, the all-pro tight end was basically calling his shot off the football field, except this time, the pass never reached its target. Travis later admitted on his New Heights podcast that he was disappointed when he learned Taylor wasn't meeting people before or after the show because she needed to protect her voice for the massive set she performed every night. The bracelet stayed with him. The number never reached Taylor, and for almost anyone else, that could have been where the story ended. Instead, it became the beginning. Travis publicly talked about the failed attempt, then effectively threw the ball back into Taylor's court by inviting her to watch the Chiefs at Arrowhead, and then came the moment that changed everything. Taylor actually showed up. Suddenly, cameras weren't only following Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and the Chiefs on Sundays, they were cutting to the stands. Fans were studying Taylor's reaction. Every appearance became a headline. And that little friendship bracelet started looking less like a failed move and more like the first chapter of something nobody could have predicted, because before long, string and beads would become custom diamonds. A bracelet worth almost nothing would inspire jewelry worth thousands. Then came luxury watches, enormous flower arrangements, reported six-figure holiday spending, and eventually a reported Ferrari worth more than $400. Ling, ling, ling. But here's what makes this story fascinating. The bigger the price tags became, the more everything seemed to point back toward that first personal gesture, and the next bracelet Travis reportedly had made for Taylor wasn't homemade anymore. It came covered in diamonds and carried 3 letters that would have fans zooming into photographs trying to decode exactly what they meant. Before we get there, tell us where you're watching from today. If you think the personal meaning behind a gift matters more than the price, come on. If you think the size of these reported gifts changes the conversation, come on, do. And subscribe to the channel, because the numbers in this story are about to jump dramatically. From friendship bracelet to diamonds, the friendship bracelet may have missed Taylor Swift the first time, but Travis Kelce wasn't about to let that idea disappear. Once Taylor started showing up at Kansas City Chiefs games and their relationship became impossible for the cameras to ignore, that simple symbol returned only this time. It came with diamonds. By December, Travis reportedly connected with Pennsylvania-based jeweler Wove to create something far more personal than an ordinary luxury purchase. The concept was a custom diamond tennis bracelet featuring 3 letters, TTN, Taylor and Travis, a private reference simple enough to understand, but personal enough to immediately mean something once fans figured it out. According to the story behind the piece, a custom bracelet would normally require weeks of work. Travis reportedly needed it much faster, and the jeweler completed the project in only a few days. The finished bracelet was valued at roughly $6. Sambai Lusher. But the price wasn't what eventually sent fans into detective mode. That happened after Kansas City defeated the Baltimore Ravens and punched its ticket to the Super Bowl. Taylor came onto the field to celebrate with Travis, creating one of the most photographed moments of that Chiefs postseason run. But while millions watched the embrace, eagle-eyed fans noticed something else on Taylor's wrist. There it was, the diamond TNT bracelet. Within days, close-up photographs were everywhere, and suddenly the symbolism became obvious. Travis had started this entire journey trying to hand Taylor a homemade bracelet carrying his phone number. Now she was standing on an NFL field wearing a diamond version built around both of their names. Even better, Travis reportedly ordered a matching piece for himself. That changed the meaning of the gift. It wasn't simply expensive jewelry handed from an NFL star to one of the biggest musicians in the world. It was a callback to the moment when he couldn't get her attention at all. Taylor later appeared with another bracelet featuring a heart and Travis's number 87. While Travis was also seen wearing jewelry connected to Taylor, the little details gave fans something new to search for every time either of them appeared in public. But, and num. 360 would soon look surprisingly small, because when their first major romantic holiday arrived, Travis didn't just upgrade the jewelry. He reportedly upgraded the entire scale of the relationship's gift-giving. and he did it while Taylor was thousands of miles away. Valentine's Day changes the game. Their first Valentine's Day together came with one enormous problem. Taylor and Travis weren't even in the same country. Taylor was continuing the international leg of the Eras Tour in Australia, while Travis was back in the United States following another Super Bowl run with Kansas City. For most couples, that kind of distance might mean a video call, a card, or a delayed celebration. Travis reportedly had something much bigger in mind. According to reports referenced in the original story, his first Valentine's Day gift package for Taylor approached $16. Ling ling ling. Among the most attention-grabbing pieces were two enormous arrangements of eternity roses, each containing roughly 250 roses, and reportedly costing more than $2. Ling ling ling. These weren't ordinary flowers expected to disappear after a week. The arrangements were designed to last for months, turning a traditional romantic gesture into something far more extravagant. And that's where the pattern started becoming obvious. The TNT bracelet was personal. The Valentine's flowers were personal and expensive. Now every important date on the calendar suddenly looked like an opportunity for Travis to raise the stakes. What made it even more interesting was the distance. Taylor didn't need to be sitting across from him for Travis to make the moment happen. She could be performing on another continent while he was surrounded by championship celebrations back home. And the gifts could still arrive. That transformed the story from celebrity shopping into something fans could follow like a scoreboard. How big would the next one be? The original homemade bracelet had essentially cost nothing. The diamond replacement reached thousands. Valentine's Day pushed the reported total towards $16. Lin Lin Lin. And Travis was only getting started, because once Taylor completed one of the biggest chapters of her professional life and her birthday arrived, reports suggested Travis had been preparing quietly behind the scenes. This time, flowers wouldn't be enough. Neither would one bracelet. The next reported collection included Tiffany & Co., Van Cleef Arpels, custom details, and one of the most recognizable luxury watches in the world. And when people added everything together, the number didn't climb from $16. 000 to $30. 000 or even $50. Ling ling ling. It exploded into six figures. The $175. 000 birthday explosion. If Valentine's Day established the pattern, Taylor's birthday reportedly blew the ceiling off it. With the Eras Tour chapter finally winding down, reports claimed Travis had spent weeks preparing something significant. The logic was emotional as much as financial. After months of schedules pulling them across stadiums, cities, and continents, they finally had an opportunity to spend more meaningful time together. Then the reported gift list surfaced, and it looked less like one birthday present and more like the inventory of a luxury jewelry boutique. One reported piece was a Tiffany & Co. Elsa Peretti open heart bracelet valued around $25. Ling ling ling. Then came selections associated with Van Cleef and Arpels, including a long white gold Alhambra necklace featuring diamond motifs reportedly priced around $35. Wu Bei, plus additional pendant and earring pieces. But those still weren't the headline. That belonged to a rose gold Rolex Day-Date 36 reportedly valued at more than $60. Lin Lin Ling. Think about how far the story had traveled by this point. Travis once hoped a handmade bracelet carrying his phone number might create an opening. Now reports had him adding a five-figure Rolex to Taylor Swift's watch collection. There was also reportedly another personalized Tiffany piece, a gold cuff featuring a heart detail with a price tag around $22. Ling ling ling. When outlets added the reported purchases together, estimates landed at approximately $174. Wu Bei Arshawu. For one birthday, but the number itself only tells half the story. Travis's reported strategy remained surprisingly consistent even as the prices became outrageous. Mix recognizable luxury with something personal. Hearts, engravings, symbols, pieces chosen specifically around Taylor. That same formula had existed when the budget was essentially a friendship bracelet. Only now there were considerably more zeros involved. And there was another reason this birthday mattered to the larger story. Once you reportedly spend roughly $175, 000, celebrating one occasion, the next major holiday faces an almost impossible expectation. How do you follow that? Apparently, by doing almost the same thing again. Because Christmas arrived almost immediately afterward, and instead of pulling back after an extraordinary birthday haul, reports suggested Travis produced another collection approaching the exact same six-figure territory. This time, Cartier would take center stage, Christmas turns into an arms race. At this point, the question wasn't whether Travis Kelce would reportedly go big for another holiday. The question was whether he could possibly go bigger. Christmas provided the answer. Reports cited in the source placed another holiday package at roughly $175. Ling ling ling. With a Panthère de Cartier watch becoming one of its most recognizable pieces, the reported watch featured dozens of diamonds and carried a price somewhere above $30. Lin lin lin. Then came more jewelry. Reports connected approximately $45. 000 worth of Tiffany pieces and roughly $48. 0 inches Van Cleef & Arpels jewelry to the wider holiday package, along with thousands more reportedly spent on roses. Suddenly, the repetition itself became part of the spectacle. Birthday, see figure. Christmas, see figure. Valentine's Day, another escalation. Reports surrounding a later Valentine's celebration pushed Travis's spending beyond $100. Lin Lin Ling, describing a collection that included roses, candy, jewelry, clothing, and other luxury items. Yet buried underneath all those expensive pieces was something almost comically simple, a handmade card. And that detail matters, because every time the numbers threaten to overwhelm the actual relationship story, another small personalized gesture pulled everything back toward where it started. The original bracelet wasn't memorable because it was expensive. It was memorable because Travis made it specifically for Taylor. Now, the same idea was appearing alongside diamond earrings and designer clothing. Still, there was no ignoring the financial escalation. What had begun around $16,000 for an earlier Valentine's Day had reportedly moved beyond $100. Lin Lin Ling. Watches followed. Reports even connected later gift packages to a Rolex 1908 and an Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, carrying enormous individual valuations. At that stage, fans could reasonably assume this was Travis's game. NFL superstar showers global pop icon with increasingly expensive gifts. Every holiday brings another headline. Every headline brings another unbelievable number. There was just one problem with that narrative. It ignored what Taylor was doing, because while everyone was counting Travis's roses, diamonds, and watches, Taylor had reportedly been studying exactly what the Chiefs star loved. And when she finally flipped the scoreboard, she didn't answer with hundreds of smaller presents. She went straight for his weaknesses: watches and cars. Taylor flips the scoreboard. For months, the easiest version of the story was simple. Travis Kelce was the extravagant gift giver. Then Taylor Swift changed the equation. According to reports in the source material, Taylor began answering Travis's luxury purchases with expensive gifts of her own, and her approach appeared noticeably different. Travis tended to spread the experience across multiple items: flowers, jewelry, clothing, cards, and custom touches bundled together. Taylor's reported strategy was more concentrated, fewer gifts, bigger targets, and she apparently knew exactly where to aim. Travis has long been associated with luxury watches, so Taylor reportedly gifted him 2 Cartier timepieces. One was described as a Santos Dumont micro-rotor skeleton model valued around $31. Ling ling ling. While another Cartier piece was reported at roughly $30. Soubet, more than $60. 0 inches watches alone. But the price wasn't the smartest part. The selection was. Taylor wasn't simply buying something expensive because Travis could appreciate luxury. She was reportedly buying inside categories he already cared about. That makes a gift feel less like a display of wealth and more like evidence that somebody has actually been paying attention, and that distinction becomes crucial to understanding the next escalation. Because Travis isn't only known for watches, he's also a serious car guy. Once that detail enters the story, you can probably see where this is going. Reports also connected Taylor to custom fashion pieces and other accessories built around Travis's increasingly recognizable style. Again, the pattern was precision rather than volume. Watch guy, give him watches. Fashion guy, give him custom clothing. Car guy, that's where things went completely off the scale, because the next reported gift wasn't something Travis could put on his wrist, hang in his closet, or open at dinner. It had 4 wheels, Italian performance engineering, and a reported price above everything. Taylor had previously given him. After watching Travis repeatedly turn birthdays and holidays into 6-figure events, Taylor reportedly responded with one move capable of wiping out several of those gift packages at once: a Ferrari. And suddenly, the person everyone thought was winning this extravagant gift competition wasn't clearly winning anymore. The reported $400 Nol Ferrari shock. A Rolex can make headlines. A Ferrari can completely change the conversation. According to the source story, when Travis reached a major professional milestone, Taylor reportedly surprised him with a Ferrari Purosang, a high-performance Italian SUV carrying a valuation above $400. Ling ling ling. If accurate, that single vehicle was worth more than many of the individual holiday packages that had generated headlines around Travis. And suddenly the scoreboard flipped. For months, audiences had watched reports about Travis spending tens of thousands on jewelry, flowers, and luxury watches. Now, Taylor had reportedly answered with one vehicle worth almost $500,000. But again, the strongest part of the story wasn't simply the price, it was the target. Travis has publicly displayed an interest in cars, making a high-end performance vehicle a gift connected directly to something he already enjoys. That mirrors the same philosophy behind Taylor reportedly choosing Cartier watches for him. Her biggest gifts weren't random symbols of wealth, they were built around his existing interests. That creates an important contrast between the two. Travis's reported gifts often created an entire experience. Flowers, jewelry, clothing, and personal touches arriving together. Taylor's biggest reported gifts operated more like precision strikes. One watch, one car, one enormous reaction, and the Ferrari became the perfect example for almost anyone watching from home. A Kumain 000 vehicle sounds like the end of the story. How could a bracelet, necklace, or watch possibly compete with that? But the narrative had one more dramatic turn waiting. Remember where everything started. A bracelet Travis couldn't put into Taylor's hand. That image of her hand becomes important again, because the most consequential piece of jewelry discussed in the source wasn't a Cartier watch or the TNT bracelet. It was a ring, a custom ring surrounded by competing expert estimates, unusual diamond details, and enormous speculation over what the stone might actually be worth. Depending on which valuation you believed, that one piece of jewelry could make the reported Ferrari look almost reasonable. And unlike every gift that came before it, this wasn't simply meant to celebrate another birthday, Christmas, or career achievement. It represented something much bigger, the ring that made the Ferrari look small. Everything before this point had trained the audience to expect escalation. But a reported engagement ring changes the stakes completely. The source describes Travis working on a custom design rather than simply selecting a conventional piece from a display case. The ring was connected to jeweler Kindred Lubeck of Artifacts, fine jewelry, and described as vintage-inspired, featuring an antique-style elongated cushion or old mine-cut diamond with intricate detailing. Then came the estimates, and this is where separating reported valuations from confirmed facts becomes essential. Jewelry experts examining photographs offered dramatically different opinions. One estimate cited in the source placed the diamond itself around $550. Ling ling ling. Other experts discussed figures approaching $675. 000 to $1 million, depending on the stone's quality, size, and characteristics. Additional reports pushed speculation even higher. Those numbers weren't an official receipt, they were estimates, but even the more conservative valuations placed the ring in completely different territory from the friendship bracelet that began this story. Experts discussing the images generally focused on a stone estimated around 8 to 10 carat. With the antique cutting style adding another layer of rarity, large old-cut diamonds can carry distinctive characteristics, precisely because they weren't designed to look like today's mass-produced modern stones. That individuality fits the larger narrative perfectly. Think about the recurring theme. The TNT bracelet was custom, the Valentine's card was handmade. Other jewelry reportedly included engravings or symbolic details. Taylor's gifts to Travis were supposedly selected around his specific interests, so even when the price potentially climbed towards 7 figures, personalization remained the through line. That's what makes the ring narratively stronger than the Ferrari. The car represented enormous financial value. The ring combined enormous potential value with symbolism. The entire story had moved from Travis trying unsuccessfully to put his number on Taylor's wrist to reports of him placing a custom diamond on her hand. That's almost too perfect as a storytelling circle. But once you remove the dollar signs for a moment, another question appears. What actually makes any of these gifts memorable? Because after dozens of headlines about Rolex, Cartier, diamonds, roses, and Ferrari, the moments people kept returning to weren't always the most expensive one. They were the most personal, and that reveals what this entire gift story may really be about. When luxury stops being about money, strip away every headline number for a moment. Forget the reported $175. 000 birthdays. Forget the 6-figure Valentine's celebrations. Forget the Cartier watches. The Ferrari. and even the enormous estimates attached to the ring, what remains? A friendship bracelet. That's why the beginning of this story still matters. Travis didn't originally try to get Taylor's attention with a luxury watch or a diamond necklace. He showed up at the Eras Tour with something tied directly to the culture surrounding her concerts. Put his phone number into it, and hoped he could somehow get it to her. He failed, and yet that failed attempt became arguably the most recognizable origin story of their relationship. Everything that followed seems to echo the same principle on a dramatically larger financial scale. The TNT bracelet carried their initials, Taylor's number 87 jewelry connected directly to Travis and the Chiefs. The handmade Valentine's card reportedly appeared alongside far more expensive purchases. Taylor's reported watches targeted Travis's interest in timepieces. The Ferrari targeted his love of cars, and the ring described in the source was presented as a custom creation rather than an ordinary luxury purchase. The price tags generate clicks, but personalization creates the narrative. That's also why treating the relationship as nothing more than an expensive gift competition misses the most interesting part. Both Taylor and Travis are extraordinarily successful people operating in worlds where conventional definitions of expensive are completely different from those of the average fan. The more revealing question isn't who spent more, it's who paid attention. A meaningful gift says, I know what matters to you. That idea can exist inside a handmade bracelet just as easily as inside a luxury watch. And ironically, after all the reported six-figure spending, the cheapest object in this entire story may still be the most important, because without that first bracelet, there is no perfect opening chapter, no TNT callback, no escalating scoreboard for fans to follow, and no full-circle image of Travis going from failing to place a bracelet in Taylor's hands to a relationship defined publicly by increasingly personal gestures. But there is still one final question to answer. After millions of dollars in reported gifts, what can ordinary people and even NFL stars living under relentless public attention actually learn from this story? That is where the final chapter begins. The lesson behind the millions, after the diamonds, the luxury watches, the endless roses, and the reported $400. 000 Ferrari. The most important object in this entire story may still be the one that cost almost nothing, that friendship bracelet, because if you look beyond the extraordinary price tags surrounding Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, the real progression isn't simply from cheap gifts to expensive ones. It's from trying to get someone's attention to learning what actually matters to that person. Travis's original bracelet was personal because he made it with Taylor specifically in mind. The later TNT bracelet reportedly carried the same idea into a completely different financial universe. The handmade card followed that pattern. So did jewelry selected around meaningful symbols, and Taylor's reported gifts to Travis appeared to follow a similar philosophy. Watches for someone who loves watches, fashion connected to his evolving style, and a Ferrari reportedly chosen for a man already known for his enthusiasm for cars. For fans watching from outside their world, the numbers can become almost impossible to process. Most people will never spend tens of thousands of dollars on a watch, let alone hundreds of thousands on a car. And that's exactly why copying the spending would be the wrong lesson. The better lesson is much simpler. Pay attention. The strongest gift doesn't have to be the most expensive one. It has to show that you listened, remembered, and understood something about another person. A handwritten note can carry more emotional weight than something purchased simply because it has an enormous price tag. There is also a lesson here for public figures living under constant scrutiny. When every appearance becomes content and every accessory becomes evidence for millions of strangers to analyze, it becomes increasingly important to separate the public spectacle from the private relationship behind it. Headlines will count dollars. Fans will compare gifts. Social media will declare winners and losers, but healthy relationships shouldn't need a scoreboard. Whether you're an NFL superstar, a global recording artist, or someone watching from your couch after a long day, respect, communication, loyalty, patience, and genuine consideration matter more than winning some imaginary competition over who gave the bigger present. And maybe that's why the bracelet remains such a perfect symbol. The reported watches became more expensive. The flowers became bigger. The cars became faster. The diamonds became more valuable, but none of those things can recreate the moment when Travis Kelce walked into Arrowhead Stadium as a Chiefs superstar and still had no guarantee Taylor Swift would ever receive his number. He took a chance. Everything else came later. So now we want to hear from you. If you believe meaning matters more than money, comment If you believe an unforgettable gift needs both personal meaning and a little extravagance, come on, dude. Tell us where you're watching from. And if you followed this story all the way from that first bracelet to the unbelievable luxury gifts that followed, like this video, share it with another NFL fan, and subscribe to the channel for more stories from around the league. Because sometimes the biggest NFL stories aren't decided by what happens between the sidelines. Sometimes they begin with one small gesture nobody expected to work.